Back with another reaction. The epic Kimbo Slice story from backyard brawls to MMA glory. Kimbo is from my hometown. He passed in 2016. Rest in peace. We're gonna check this out. Let's see how they highlighted Kimbo.
You ain't wanna see none of that.
All day.
I ain't never gonna question you, partner.
All day.
I ain't never gonna question you.
It's how a nigga eat, man.
Kimbo Slice was an internet sensation.
He absolutely helped make YouTube a household name.
I can't believe people do this. This is crazy.
Then, this bare-knuckle brawler takes his street fighting skills from alleys to arenas.
In the cage, he was just a savage.
If he hits you, God, you're going down.
Kimbo's combination of malice
He was definitely made to fight.
and magnetism.
I think he was made to be in front of the camera as well.
I want to kick him in his face, you know? Break his arm, break his jaw.
Brings new fans to MMA.
You had people that don't even watch fighting paying attention because of him.
Kimbo took care of business. Listen to this crowd. This is insane. Kimbo Slice.
But is it hope?
He used to rock that little, that little George Jefferson dude, man. He put his spin on it, you feel me? Embrace whatever he had going, you know?
This guy is destined for stardom in mixed martial arts.
You couldn't not look at him.
He was a superstar.
Or is it hype?
I did not expect him to go down off a little clip like that.
Yeah.
I could fall down and submit him.
Kimbo Slice sucks.
These naysayers have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, it was a lot of naysayers, you know, because he wasn't, you know, like MMA, like, it's to the heart, like how people were, you feel me? He was a street fighter, so, you know what I'm saying? He had his naysayers and stuff like that, but what I can say is he had the heart, and he tried to come in, and he wanted to, you know, do it, you know, on a larger scale, you feel me? So, yeah, I remember all of this.
Idea what it takes for a guy like that to take a professional fight.
People wanted to say, like, he's not really even a good fighter.
We don't care what people say.
You don't give a if they destroy the whole sport.
What's next for Kimbo Slice? What's next is whoever's next.
He's just such a polarizing figure.
Let's do it.
When I rest in peace, I just want people to say I evolved from a knucklehead in the backyards of the hood in Miami to the mainstream and the elite of mixed martial arts.
The underground fighter and internet legend Kimbo Slice begins life as Kevin Ferguson. Nicknamed Kimbo by his family, he grows up a Bahamian immigrant living with his mom and two siblings in rundown South Miami.
3 kids with mom from an island with nothing. We really had a struggle. I'm Renee Ferguson, the sister of Kevin Ferguson. We got picked on for the type of clothing that we wore because we didn't have the best. Our language was different. We spoke funny.
But Kimbo's mom teaches her kids to stand up for themselves and for others.
They try to push you around, you push them back. Show them you're not afraid, even if you are afraid.
That's when Kevin really started fighting back because he got tired of running.
The first fight I ever had, I was like maybe 13, the guy was like 26. I saw a friend of mine just getting beat up.
Yeah,
and
man.
I just went over there and just cleaned his clock.
All that built-up anger that he had made him Kimbo.
I just knew him as Big Ferg. My name's Mike Imber, and I'm a longtime friend and also manager to Big Ferg, AKA Kimbo. We met back at Miami Palmetto High. You wouldn't forget his presence even back then. He was known for playing football there. He definitely was the one looking out for me if I ever had any issues or problems. Even though he might have had the opportunity to be the bully, he always chose to be the anti-bully.
While still in high school, Kimbo becomes a father.
Oh my God, he was so happy.
Everyone said when they saw him, they saw me. I'm Kevin, Kimbo Slice Jr.
Yeah, he looked
and I'm
like
the son of Kimbo Slice.
Ooh-wee.
He didn't really have his dad in his life, so he tried his best to be like the best version he thought he could be. He had a bike, and he used to have me like in the basket, like riding around with him everywhere he went, practice, even school. And the teachers let him. Like they liked him so much that they let him.
Kimbo's size, strength, and athletic ability earned him a football scholarship at University of Miami.
He really wanted to become a professional football player. That was his first dream.
A dream that will get blown away by a Category 5 hurricane.
And in Florida, where the storm was strongest, up to 250,000 people have lost their homes.
And Kimbo loses his chance to play Division I football.
Everything stopped. No school. You know, I don't think he played his last couple games.
Kimbo's scholarship is withdrawn on account of the shortened season.
That year was just a bad year. You know, Hurricane Andrew came through and just destroyed everything.
It just didn't work out for him.
He was 18 at that time, you know, with a kid. So
I was a baby when Hurricane Andrew came through. Like, I was young, really like a baby.
I know it was probably tough on him.
Dang,
and then
he
he
was devastating.
Just struggling, trying to figure out what it is that he wanted to do.
For the next decade,
That's
Kimbo
exactly
bounces between colleges and jobs.
I'm from the same
There
area
was times,
that
you know,
he
people just
grew up.
wasn't hiring. We all do what we have to do to make a living, you know, and to survive.
Including sleeping in his car while working as a bouncer at a strip club. In his late 20s, Kimbo's earning too little to support himself or his family.
We're talking like $30, $40 a night from 5 in the afternoon till 6 in the morning, you know, and you hoping that you will make a little tips by these guys coming in, you know, giving you $1 at the door. You know, how many dollars you think you're gonna get?
I used to work at a door of a strip club too, at the, I don't know if y'all know about the Rolex in Miami. And when the guys give you tips, man, you know, cause everybody be balling, you know, the street dudes and everything like that. Yeah, so I know exactly what he's talking about.
I showed up at the strip club, and who was working the door was Ferg. We just weren't in touch over those years. And it was meant to be that we bumped back into one another. I had a business that we had just got started in. Reality Kings was an online conglomerate of adult pay sites. I was able to offer him a job for us to work together. He was just driving and working as security. He had this real shitty Pathfinder with the windows broken out. I just didn't know that he was actually using it to stay in. I wasn't able to pay him a lot of money to start.
I like the illustrations that they have going on. This is way different than, you know, every other show. I like it. It looks so, real to the characters that they talking about, you know what I'm saying?
If I knew my guy was sleeping in the car, I would have figured something out. He never really asked for anything like that. You know, he's a very prideful man, and he wanted to make more money. I was like, well, I've never seen you lose a fight.
Mike Imber has an idea. His time running porn websites tips him to another kind of online adult entertainment. Bare-knuckle backyard brawls.
We could just go to the different neighborhoods, find out who they got, and I'll bet on you, and you'll keep whatever you win. I knew that he wasn't going to lose.
He used to tell me about it. He was like, Renee, I'm gonna do these backyard fights. And I'm like, you seriously, you have to do this? He was like, yeah.
Kimbo's chance comes in 2003.
I got a phone call, and he was like, Ferg, would you fight Big D for like $1,500?
Tell him when he's ready to come see me, man.
I'm like, right now? Hell yeah.
He's supposed to be the baddest guy down south, or whatever, the bully or whatever. So I'm gonna fight him. And I was like, okay, yeah, Kevin.
And then it went from, you know, if you win, you'll get $3 grand.
I definitely remember the first time I saw Kimbo Slice. Like many, it was on YouTube.
I do this for free.
Getting out of the Hummer and just throwing down.
Bare knuckles.
It was just so raw. Vicious and brutal.
When I seen it, I'm like, oh my God.
Someone shared the link with me. I was like, I can't believe people do this. This is crazy.
The way it was filmed, this wasn't scripted.
Nigga, that's from this. Run it, Ferg.
It was just something I'd never seen before, and I couldn't look away.
He told the guy to hit him. I'm like, don't do that.
As long as he ain't get knocked out, I'm fine.
He executed that one. I'm like,
his mama said, long as he ain't getting knocked out, she fine. Hey.
I'm like, don't do that.
Sorry.
As long as he ain't getting knocked out, I'm fine.
He executed that one. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. So finish him, we good.
And he just ate him.
Watch out with that thing, watch out with that metal thing, man.
The guy's eye looked like it was falling out a little bit.
We can do this.
Oh, shit, dog, all right?
Slicing open Big D's eye earns Kimbo a new last name.
Dang, Kimbo
He's now
wasn't even,
Kimbo
he
Slice.
It was like a movie. Who the hell is this guy?
All day.
I ain't never gonna question you.
All day. Flex.
I'm like, oh my God. So how many more of these you have to do?
Damn, you got, oh man.
When he came home that day, he had like this white bloody towel, bloody pants with like a stack of money.
Somebody hit me up and they're like, look, man, this thing's got millions of views on YouTube. I'm like, might have something here.
Kimbo was like one of the first internet celebrities.
A friend of mine called one day and he's like, look, I got a possible fight for you. Crazy thing is he's a cop.
Sean Gannon, the great white hope cop from Boston versus Kimbo Slice, has the street fighting world bursting with anticipation.
It was definitely a war.
From the start, the fight does not disappoint. Gannon pulls out a martial arts move called the guillotine choke. In street fights, chokeholds are banned.
That made him mad, bro. How you gonna pull that out, bro?
Kimbo exhausts himself fighting his way out of several holds.
It was a moment where you saw that he wasn't invincible, that he was indeed human.
Sean Gannon got beaten to smithereens.
And requires several days in the hospital to recover.
But Sean Gannon won.
The internet doesn't care.
Everybody was talking about
He got
Kimbo.
all them concussions.
He was a
I know he was messed around.
boss that came to life. He was as white as a buffalo. He was mean when he fought. He talked trash, and the trash he talked was funny.
I'm gonna try to make him
Why y'all
bleed,
ain't telling
piss,
my
fart,
shirt
shit,
was up?
throw up,
Y'all
burp,
ain't no good.
whatever the body does. You know, I'm gonna try to get him to do it.
Y'all ain't
We were
right.
at the Miami Arena and Mike Tyson called him over. He said, I'm a big fan of your work. Could I give you a piece of advice? He's like, you know, don't ever go pro. He's like, keep doing what you're doing. But, you know, Kimbo was looking at him like, knowing, here you are, you made hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, I'm fighting in the backyard.
Kimbo does not take Iron Mike's advice. Instead, he starts down a professional fighting path he won't live to regret.
I was working for Cage Fury. They wanted a main event. And I said, I got the guy. It's going to bring in everybody. I said, Kimbo.
Then it's like, we want to have him fight Ray Mercer. No amateur fights, no warm-up, no anything. His first pro fight was against an ex-heavyweight champ of the world, gold medalist.
In just 2 months, an untested and untrained 33-year-old Kimbo Slice will step into his first MMA cage.
While this was all happening, I had a friend who was in a weekly card game with Lennox Lewis. Lennox was like, Mercer, hey, he hits really hard. Lennox just beat Mike Tyson. I'm listening to this, I'm like, I think we better get our shit together.
I'm only going out one way.
From the network that brought you Dark Side of the Ring.
Guys, I have incredible legacy, but they tarnish it.
I was in true danger.
Drinking, gambling, concussion after concussion.
Pulled the gun and put it to my head.
Dark Side of the Cage. Wednesdays at 10 on Vice.
Kimbo Slice, a 33-year-old backyard YouTube fighter with no professional experience, has a mere 2 months before he enters the cage. Kimbo Slice, a 33-year-old backyard YouTube fighter with no professional experience, has a mere 2 months before he enters the cage for his first professional MMA bout.
I go into YouTube, I type in Kimbo Slice, and I'm like, wow, this guy's coming to our gym to learn from us. My name is Randy Katami. I'm the co-owner of Bas Rutten's Elite MMA. I was Kimbo Slice's boxing coach. This guy is just a pure fighter.
The fact that Kimbo decides to go into mixed martial arts after he's been an internet sensation, that says everything about his personality. Kimbo wants to be the best fighter on the planet. My name is Bas Rutten. I'm a former UFC heavyweight champion, and I helped Kimbo when he became a pro fighter from his very first fight against Ray Mercer.
As a student, he really came in like a dry sponge. He'd never really sat down with any coach and learned the skill of combat sports. Obviously, he had technical ability. He was strong. He was fast. He moves his head really well. His footwork was really good. He was throwing a lot of hooks. So what I wanted to do right away was teach him how to throw a straight punch. But his ground game was nothing.
Thankfully, he had already an open stance. Everything becomes more powerful. We needed to add some kicks and some knees.
He had to play catch-up. Starting combat sports at 33 years old is a tough journey.
This man is making his cage debut right here for the CFFC.
In Kimbo's first pro fight against former boxing heavyweight champ Ray Mercer, Kimbo is said to earn $50,000 to fight, with a $25,000 bonus to win. Unprecedented amounts for a rookie fighter. It's a sign of Kimbo's internet popularity.
You'd be lucky as just a general pro fighter to make $1,000. As a UFC fighter during that time, $7,000 to fight, $7,000 to win.
But I knew what his worth was.
Lots of MMA fans don't share that opinion.
People wanted to say like, oh, he's not really even a good fighter.
Yeah, they was mad because people had to work to get, you know what I'm saying, where they were. And you feel me? How stuff was set up for him, and it was good that he had a guy standing behind him. You feel me? And saw Kimbo's worth. You feel me? So.
All these naysayers that were online, you know, these are people who don't train, don't fight. They have absolutely no idea what it takes for a guy like that who is this high on the internet to take a professional fight.
This man is a boxer with a professional boxing record of 30.
My dad was never intimidated by no one he fought. Never. Never.
10 minutes before the fight, I said, cross your hands in front of you, make sure that you keep looking, and just bull rush him against the fence, and he actually did it.
Round number 1, schedule number 3. Oh! He catches Ray with a shot. Ray ties him up. Kimbo, the aggressor, tries to grab Ray and drive him down the cabin.
That's the moment that I knew he's going to go really far, because he's actually listening.
Yeah.
You see the way Kimbo was able to break that. He's so strong. He's actually got him inside control. How about this?
1 minute and 12 seconds into the fight, Mercer submits to Kimbo's guillotine chokehold. It's the same move Sean Gannon used to beat Kimbo in their infamous street fight.
He wins. He freaking wins.
And gets noticed by another MMA fight promotion, Elite XC.
He won by submission. We never knew he had submissions. My name is Rich Chow, and I worked at Elite XC as a matchmaker. So all of a sudden, that gave us this whole different angle. What if he does commit to real training with great coaches and in the right environment? Who knows what he's capable of? However, we knew it was going to take him time to learn and develop the game. And there was an understanding that maybe we don't have years and years and years for him to get there.
So, after signing him, Elite XC waits only a few months before setting Kimbo's first fight against Bo Cantrell.
Bo Cantrell was a great guy for the first fight because he had the edge in experience. He was a big, strong heavyweight that could knock people out.
My very first time going out and photographing him was at his gym ahead of his fight against Bo Cantrell. My name is Esther Lynn, and I am a photographer with a specialty in combat sports. And I had the pleasure of photographing Kimbo Slice. You know, you hear people talk about how certain fighters or certain celebrities or whatever, they have it. And I think he just had it. I couldn't believe every single photo I took of him I liked. He definitely understood how to sell a fight.
The Bo Cantrell fight was the big deal because that was the first one really on television.
Heavyweights in action as Kimbo Slice in his official mixed martial arts debut.
He rolls in, boom, here's this guy. The Kimbo brand was Miami. It was badass, and it was raw and underground.
If I give him submission move, he just got to break the arm. I'm not tapping out.
People started to think about those backyard
break his
brawls
arm.
and, you know, people's eye hanging out.
I want to kick him in his face, you know? Break his arm, break his jaw.
Yeah, that boy do a
MMA
windmill.
fight against Ray Mercer. Make no mistake, people were scared of Kimbo.
Including, perhaps, Bo Cantrell.
Do you think Kimbo's
reputation helped in that way?
I think Kimbo's reputation definitely helped him. At the weigh-in, he wouldn't look at Kimbo. He just looked really, really, really scared before the fight.
He was trying to do it for their money, man.
When he got hit, I think he just went down. He didn't want to take another punch.
That's got to be some kind of a record. At just 19
Look, he got the heck out of here. Let it be done.
like names of a Hollywood party, and this guy is destined for stardom in mixed martial arts.
Kimbo's lightning-fast KO of Cantrell supercharges his celebrity.
He was everywhere. He was like doing conventions, signings, showing up with like celebrities. He was ubiquitous.
The Street Fighter is quickly becoming less South Miami and more South Beach as his fame migrates from YouTube to network TV.
It's the nice walk.
When he got invited to the Jimmy Kimmel show, I'd never thought in a million years he would make it to that stage.
That felt huge just because at the time, most people still kind of considered MMA like human cockfighting.
You like punching people?
Yeah.
You do. You ever feel bad afterwards?
Nah.
You never do?
Nah.
You never, even if a guy's like spitting out his teeth, you there?
No, not at all. But when the fight's over with, I'll say what's up, help him out, whatever. Be like, yo, you got to go to the doctor, man, get that checked out.
Kimbo always had charisma. He could make you laugh. The fact that he was goofy and happy was very disarming. It's fun to see somebody who's so scary and also not scary. He was that bridge between like pop culture and like this fringe sport.
I hope I made that's about to say. The wall of fame. This is the wall of fame. You feel me?
The fame, none of it was planned, but he understood the more viewership, then the easier the negotiations are going to be going for the next contract.
But real talk, check me out on kimboslice.proleague.com all day. That's how we do it.
The allure was there, and people just wanted to see him fight.
And keep winning.
We are just minutes away from our main event, Kimbo Slice versus Tank Abbott.
Kimbo Slice versus Tank Abbott in Miami. Easily one of my most memorable and favorite events. The energy, the electricity.
This was going to be his coming out party in terms of like, this is where we're going to finally get to see Kimbo fight a fighter with reputation.
He was fighting an ex-UFC heavyweight champ. Tank was not in his prime, but he also was still extremely dangerous.
When I looked into the crowd, those weren't fight fans. They were here to see Kimbo Slice, the phenomenon.
I'm like, wow, my brother finally made it. For him to blow up and make it like he did, for the world to see, I was so proud of him.
We got a police escort all the way to the fight. I've never seen anything like it. They're not escorting anybody unless they're the president.
The extra security, the extra police, the police escort. This was not your average fight. I knew at that moment we had crossed over. He was a superstar.
This is showtime.
He going in right off the rip, bro.
Tank Abbott gets another right across the jaw. The third one's the charm. Kimbo Slice wins the main event.
He ended up knocking him out in like 40-some seconds.
The fight takes Kimbo from street brawler to MMA certified.
Listen to this crowd. This is insane.
It was what the crowd wanted to see.
And this reaction, this is loud.
At that point, he was still invincible, and that's how we felt.
Yeah.
After that
At
was when
point.
like really, really bad stuff happened.
I'm only going out one way.
From the network that brought you Dark Side of the Ring.
This guy was gonna kill me, or I was gonna have to kill him.
A new series from Vice Sports.
A lot of guys have incredible legacy, but they tarnish it.
They just took concussion after concussion.
He never wanted to be the poster boy.
Freaking heart transplant. Nobody knew.
Young's a bodyguard. Pulled the gun, put it to my head.
Inside access to the world of MMA. Dark Side of the Cage.
Kimbo's win over UFC veteran Tank Abbott becomes more than just another victory.
Everywhere you went, you felt like things were going well.
Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo fuels UFC competitor Elite XC all the way to prime time.
MMA on network television, on CBS for the first time.
I remember going, our sport is on national television. We did it. The sport did it.
Not everybody was happy about Kimbo headlining.
One of his loudest critics has a lot to lose by Kimbo's success. Dana White, the UFC's president.
Kimbo Slice would get murdered in the UFC. Kimbo Slice is a street fighter.
Kimbo Slice sucks. Coming up, folks, our main event, Kimbo Slice.
He's trying to dominate every lane. You feel me? And it's people that's their whole life. That's their bread, their butter that they built up and that they've been dominating all that time. So when Kimbo came, feel me, MMA, UFC, they like, what's next? Like, nah, you're not finna, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
It's James Colossus Thompson.
Elite XC responds to the UFC sniping by upping its game.
For this fight, they put in a lot more effort into the camera work, into the stage, into the walkouts, into the pyro. They hired like a bunch of dancers, and so it did feel like this grand experiment in trying to compete with the UFC.
Now, they just need their star attraction to also step up.
They want to see what Kimbo could do against a veteran guy like James Thompson. He had the same physique, if not bigger than Kimbo.
257 pounds.
James came to the weigh-in, and his ear was just completely inflamed. It was huge.
Oh, he got cauliflower.
That first round, Kimbo gets hurt. All I really remember was just feeling like, oh shit, what if he loses?
He dug deep.
In the third round, Kimbo's trainers get into his ear about his opponents.
Boz and I both told him hit the ear.
I would say that Thompson right now is probably ahead.
It exploded.
The ear juices got all over the photographer next to me. It was gross. It was actually truly gross.
38 seconds into round 3, Kimbo is declared the winner. It's also a victory for CBS.
CBS wanted Kimbo in that primetime slot. You know, it's their job to deliver ratings. Having a really exciting, dramatic finish was what we wanted, and we got that. They wanted everything to build up to this massive viewership moment, and they got it. Boom, there it was.
34-year-old Kimbo is the hot, not-so-new face of MMA, making the cover of ESPN magazine.
Man, was he just the biggest thing coming off network television.
When we're out in public and the fans, they want to meet him, he's still Kevin to me.
The material things is what changed. The cars got more fancier. The gifts got bigger. Everybody had their own room, went to a good school.
If he don't love nothing else, he love his kids. He always tried to find ways to take care of his family. Like, he needed those fights.
And the bigger he gets, the bigger the backlash.
Why is this guy in ESPN magazine? Why isn't it me? You know, I'm 15-1. I find the UFC.
Kimbo's recent victory over James Thompson energizes his supporters.
Thanks for the love. James, very tough opponent. I didn't underestimate him, but I didn't know he was going to be that strong on the ground.
But this win comes with a warning.
It would have been one of the first times where we realized like his cardio needed a lot of work.
Up until that point, they've been really quick knockouts and quick fights. Going 3 rounds with a big guy, definitely people were talking.
Kimbo's cardio concerns as Dana White's blood pressure soaring.
Like I've said now for the last few months, this guy can't fight.
All of a sudden, we noticed that there is a whole line of guys now waiting to fight him. They now felt like they could beat him.
That's just for us to go back and make sure we tighten that game up, push him a little bit more in training.
He didn't really listen to the haters.
You have to have your mind right, your mind and your heart.
As long as he's getting paid, he's happy.
But Elite XC is nervous.
The company was struggling a little bit financially. We needed a really good, successful event to keep us going.
So they look to match Kimbo against a legendary MMA fighter, 44-year-old Ken Shamrock.
I'll do it, I said, but you better have an ambulance close by. I am Ken Shamrock, also known as the world's most dangerous man. I was like, dude, I could destroy him. I could fall down and submit him.
Kimbo's trainer, Boss Rutan, has fought Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock as a fighter was a great submission guy. So when I fought Ken, I lost by submission.
Yeah, that's the key
my
thing.
submission experience.
Yeah.
when I started training Kimbo, we started doing a lot of leg lock escapes.
Defend the submission and then get back on your feet.
Kimbo trains intensely for 6 weeks on how to beat Shamrock.
They
The
real
Kimbo
good
Ken
at
weigh-in, it was
doing
high energy,
submissions.
it was intense, but something just felt a little off.
Kimbo had turned his back on him at the weigh-in, which, you know, Ken took that as disrespect.
Ken shoves him and starts yelling at him.
There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. He found out how much Kimbo was making and how much he was making, and he thought Kimbo wasn't deserving of that paycheck.
Kimbo did everything he was supposed to do to put himself in a position to be recognized without ever having to fight a #1 fighter. And you can't hate him for that. It's like, sign me up, please. But I have to build up some animosity. I'm not the kind of guy that can beat up somebody I like.
All of a sudden, the day of the fight, we have an issue with Ken. He says he cut himself while working out in his hotel room. The cut was really fresh, like you knew. You knew there's no way in hell he's gonna get cleared to fight.
How do you get cut 3 hours before a big fight? Like, what are you doing?
We were doing a drill. My head went down and he popped his head up. Boom, and I reached up and there's blood.
Some people have the theory that Ken cut himself to try and get back at the promotion.
The things that came out of that were just ridiculous. I've gone through this my whole career with having disagreements in contracts, but I fought. I did not fight. I showed up even after I got cut. This is what people don't know. They said we can't because I had stitches.
I remember just that feeling of almost being sick. The stakes were so high. It's refunding tickets. How do you explain this to the network? We determined that we needed to try and get Kimbo to stay on the card. And he wanted to stay on the card. He wanted to fight, and he wanted to get paid.
People in the crowd were starting to hear about it, so they were getting really rowdy.
At the time of the Kimbo fight, I was supposed to fight Aaron Rosa. I needed the win. If I lost that fight, I was probably gonna be done. My name is Seth Petruzzelli. I was a professional MMA fighter for about 15 years. They're like, hey, look, Ken Shamrock is hurt. Do you wanna fight Kimbo? They offered me $60K to do it and then another 40 to win. It was definitely a big pay jump.
Plus a 20 grand bonus if he knocks out Kimbo.
The head of Elite XC found a cocktail napkin on the table, and that was the deal. I done on a cocktail napkin. I had everything to gain, nothing to lose.
Kimbo does have something to lose.
I run backstage to try to get a photo of him walking out. I don't know what it's like to be told you're fighting, you're not fighting several times throughout the evening, but he didn't look confident.
Gentlemen, this is the main event, and it's showtime. Welcome to CBS Elite XC style. Let's give the millions of fans that's watching this fight the fight that they want to see. Go back to your corners, let's get ready to rock and roll.
And he's the first fighter in my entire career that never touched my gloves.
Kimbo Slice, his 4th appearance inside the cage.
I was like, okay, maybe you're doing it for show, but it still pissed me off.
To be given a different opponent an hour before you fight is kind of unheard of. I just told Kimbo, put your hands on him. Get your distance and put your hands on him. I just don't think Kimbo's mind was in the fight, because he was there to fight Ken.
And it's about to get serious. Slice.
Yeah, he don't know this other dude. He didn't do no.
Crouching down, chin tucked, as he stood up to throw the rolling hook. I just threw that punch like at his beard, because it was a big target.
He didn't study this dude, man.
I'm only going out one way.
From the network that brought you Dark Side of the Ring.
Guys have incredible legacy, but they tarnish it.
I was in true danger.
Drinking, gambling, concussion after
They
concussion.
got so many ads. I might have to try my best to.
Dark Side of the Cage. Wednesdays at 10 on Vice.
And it's about to get serious.
Seconds into his fight against
And it's about to get serious.
Seconds into his fight against last-minute opponent Seth Petruzzelli, Kimbo Slice makes a mistake.
His knee gave out. He had to get surgery right after that. I don't think a lot of people know that. And then, you know, Seth capitalized, got on top.
He got clipped, he got dazed.
I remember him falling to his knees and just start round punches, bomb, bomb, bomb to the side of the head.
Before you know it, the ref called the fight off.
I did not expect him to go down off a little clip like that, but if you're not expecting a shot to come, even if it's a little strike, Yeah, it'll knock your lights out for sure, for a split second.
The whole arena went quiet. You could have heard a pin drop in there. I remember just being almost frozen
because
there. And honestly, not sure what it all meant.
The company had put a lot of eggs into the Kimbo basket, so I was nervous.
We all collectively knew that that was not good for the company.
People were like, you spent all this money on a street fighter and he didn't pan out.
Within a month, Elite XC is down for the count, and a beaten Kimbo is on the ropes with fans and critics.
They were just like, see, told you. He's not a real fighter.
Kimbo was their hero. Their dreams just got crushed.
We knew there was going to be major repercussions from it. It went way beyond, hey, you know, there's a lot of work to do in the gym.
With the demise of Elite XC, Kimbo's career is also presumed dead.
It did feel like a party ended, I guess.
Until the sport's ultimate promoter spots value in the person he once aggressively belittled.
We got one more guy coming.
I was like, Dana White's gonna take him into the Ultimate Fighter house after saying that he's the guy that you want at your house at a barbecue, but not in a professional fight.
The Ultimate Fighter, UFC's reality show, follows pro MMA fighters living together as they train, all battling for a six-figure contract.
This next guy that's coming is definitely a fighter. Question is he a mixed martial artist?
Coming off a loss like that, it felt like a privilege to be able to be a part of it. The Ultimate Fighter show is really like their proving grounds.
Talked more about this guy than anybody ever. And coming from me, that's saying a lot.
The Ultimate Fighter always seemed like a building show for up-and-coming fighters. So it's wild to see somebody so famous being on it.
For Kimbo to take that and say, no, I'm going to go like any other fighter through the house, that gave him a lot of credibility.
He wanted to become a UFC fighter, so he had to go through everything that they went through. Like those guys, they're used to it. He had to get conditioned.
Yeah, learn
So he
how to
really had to
grapple
put
and
in the
all
work.
that.
That was the moment that all the fighters started really respecting him. And of course, in the house, they find out what person he was.
Being on that show was able to change public perception because they were able to see another side of him outside of the cage.
He was a family man, and he loved his kids, and he read the Bible, and he took a journal every day, and he was a sweet, loving man. When my daughter was 3 months old, I was still nervous of holding my daughter. He just grabbed her and, hey, Rand, this is how you hold them. He had 5 kids. He knew what to do. I remember him saying, this is what unconditional love is. These kids, they're innocent, Randy. We're their rock.
How long did it take you to grow that hair on your face? All right, my son is 4. I started before he was born.
Was a great father. Teach them right from wrong, gentle with the kids.
Outside the cage, you know, he was just a gentle bent when we were sparring. I would tell him to hit me hard, and he wouldn't hit me hard. And he looked at me as, you know, 190-pound guy, and he didn't want to hurt me. He couldn't wait to fight, though.
Kimbo was eliminated during the Ultimate Fighter's first bout, but hangs around with the other contestants through the season and emerges a fan favorite.
The highest ratings that the Ultimate Fighter ever had was the season with Kimbo Slice.
The UFC rewards Kimbo with a professional contract, and his first opponent is the real deal.
Houston Alexander was a monster. Before that fight, he was knocking out everybody. He was knocking them out cold.
I mean, this one almost finished the fight.
Kimbo takes Alexander down to the ground, proving you can teach an old MMA dog some new tricks.
So we are seeing the growth of a true mixed martial artist.
After Kimbo loses his second UFC fight, Dana White does not renew his contract, but he does walk back earlier criticisms of the fighter.
I'm happy to have met Kimbo Slice. You know, he's not who I thought he was. He's a good guy. He came in, he worked hard. He's done everything he could to evolve as a mixed martial artist.
In 2010, Kimbo announces his retirement from MMA to pursue an uneventful stint as a pro boxer. But in 2015, he's lured back to the cage for a fight that's 7 years overdue.
I moved on to a company called Bellator.
wanna
We
go
were in a
in every
position where we
lane.
needed some star power, and we needed some star power quickly. And there was a guy out there, an old friend of ours, Kimbo Slice. There was unfinished business. 7 years later, after that crazy night, it's Kimbo and Ken Shamrock again. The second time, it felt different.
You know what though? It's good that he did, and he went in every lane to show you what you can do. Like when you put your mind to something, despite all the naysayers, you know what I'm saying? And it's like he probably felt in his soul or his spirit that something was coming, and he didn't quite know what that was, you know, at the end, you know, and that's what made it sad and a somber moment, you know. But I know I'm skipping way to the end of this video, but I know where they're going with it. But yeah, man, you know, his wins, his troubles, his struggles, and being where he came from, nobody don't know. That's tough, you feel me? I know everybody go through struggles, but he just, you know what I'm saying, took that to a whole nother level because he was trying to provide for his family. And he know he can do it with what he been doing for free out there, feel me? Giving it to them.
Different. This feels right.
In the first round, Kimbo's right hook sends Shamrock crashing to the mat.
He beat me, straight up. I let up, I gave him a chance, and he capitalized on it.
It was a very proud moment. He was finally able to make it happen. Would have been amazing to have just ended the career on that note.
But he doesn't.
Man, listen, dude, I'm a manhandle you, dude. Yeah. I promise you that.
Promoter Bellator capitalizes on Kimbo's quick KO of Shamrock by putting him in another grudge match.
Dada 5000 appeared to be Kimbo 2.0. It was a guy from the streets of Miami that Kimbo didn't like, which always makes it more fun and easier to promote.
You got baby nuts. I bet you my nuts bigger than yours. Come on.
I was excited, I was pumped. I was sitting cage side. Mike Tyson was right behind me. Very surreal.
The fans were expecting so much. My name is John McCarthy. Most people in the MMA world would know me as Big John McCarthy. I ref the Dada versus Kimbo fight.
But neither of the former street fighters feels much like fighting.
These guys go out there and they swing for about 30 seconds and exhaust each other.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe this is playing out this way. It was bad.
The booing is so loud in the arena. I'm like, Kimbo, you gotta do something. We gotta have a fight.
In the cage, Kimbo was awarded a technical knockout. Later, medical tests will not only overturn his victory, but reveal secrets that threaten more than just Kimbo's career.
I sure didn't know the problem for Kimbo at the time was he had no business fighting. We always knew that he had high blood pressure, but never knew the extent of what the high blood pressure was doing to somebody who had an enlarged heart. And I didn't find that out till later on when he was just driving and working as like security. We'd be at like a red light and he would just fall asleep. And he'd be like, oh, the light was too long. And it's like, man, it's, you know, light's not that long. I was just thinking he was like partying the night before. Now I kind of realize maybe it had something to do with what was, you know, inherently wrong with him.
He always had an enlarged heart. So that's something he had his whole life. So we always knew about that. I didn't even understand what it meant, to be honest with you. I was so young. He told me about it once and then it was like life goes on.
One of the very few times that we argued with one another was me pushing for him to not fight anymore. They had him set up to fight James Thompson again in England, but I'm like, look, man, this just can't happen.
Soon the decision to fight again is made for him.
It went from getting a pacemaker to, you know, you need a heart transplant. That's when he knew this was no joke.
Kimbo Slice's heart condition is difficult for his family to accept.
In the hospital, his monitor was reading at 5%, but he was moving around like he was ready to be discharged and come home. That's just how strong he was. So I didn't know that would have been my last time seeing him.
MMA fighter Kimbo Slice has died in a South Florida hospital last night. His death was sudden and unexpected.
One of the worst things to experience is, you know, somebody that you care so much about and went on this crazy life journey with, and not really being able to say goodbye.
Being his oldest sister and always being able to protect him, I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't deal with that.
I was there to the end.
My dad was always preparing me for his death. I wouldn't say he knew, but he just always prepared me for if something was to ever happen to him. So when it happened, I'm like, life goes on, it doesn't stop.
But Kimbo dying while awaiting a heart transplant does cause the MMA community to pause and reflect.
Frickin' heart transplant. Are you kidding me?
It's big.
Right away went back to that Dada 5,000 fight. And I was pushing him not knowing he had a heart problem.
I never knew about his heart. Nobody knew. Apparently Kimbo knew, but he didn't want to tell people because then he would say, hey, fighting is over. And fighting was his passion. The things he did, stamina-wise and training-wise, with his heart, it says a lot about the person he is.
I don't think a lot of the traditionalists realized the age they came in at.
You have to understand, he had a lot of injuries.
Shelf life of a fighter, I mean, you're probably at your peak at 28, 30 years old, and after that, Mother Time catches up to us. And if you have a condition like that, it puts even more of a strain on it.
And then knowing yourself that your heart is not good, but then still go through it, that's a special human being. If you take a guy like that back to his like 20 years of age, to a good coach, I think he could have been a real a big fighter.
He would have died in the cage to have made that money for his family. Even though it wasn't necessary, to him it was.
Coming from nothing, being homeless, and all of a sudden making the money that he was making and able to support his family that he'd never probably dream of.
It fits his character to a T. Kimbo was somebody that if you knew him, you loved him. He was that good of a guy.
I respected what he did. I knew where he came from. I knew how he had to get there.
Could he have been better if he had started earlier? Maybe, yeah. But he struggled throughout his whole life and he got to this point. That's already a huge achievement.
This sport is all about entertainment and going out there and putting out the best fight possible, giving 100% of everything you got in a fight, win or lose, and that's what he did.
Just remember him as Kimbo Slice, the fighter.
But this was very, very well put together, you know. They've got his son and his mama, his sister, his manager, his opponents even was featured on here. They did a good job. And RIP to Kimbo Slice. He fought to the end, though. See y'all on the next one.